The other four were always together. They walked a lot of places together, always together. And he was just a different personality type. He didn't meld with the other four, according to the parents. I'm Acadia Einstein, and this is Strangeful Things.
Sheltering in place is not advised, as your survival cannot be ensured in that scenario.
Love has practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated.
Strangeful Things.
Hey y'all, Shuey here. Welcome to part 2 of the Yuba 5. If you didn't listen to the first half, go back and do that because you are not going to know what the heck's going on.
We are going to jump ahead now to June 4th, 1978.
We didn't jump very far.
I mean, February, beginning of March to June. It's pretty far. Some motorcyclists, which I like to think had decided they wanted to be like the Black Widows from Every Which Way But Loose, which was a popular movie at the time. So every time they showed up, they'd go, wah, 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 wah.
I just hope they don't get tarred and feathered.
Oh, they're gonna. So they were driving around, ramming around up in the mountains, and they find a trailer, and it's a forest ranger trailer. Now, apparently, what the forest rangers in California do is they have their little home base or whatever,
right?
But then they also have we'll just put some shit over here in case we need to do something over there. I don't know what the thought process behind it was, but it's not stupid. You know what I mean? We got a lot of area to cover, so we'll just, in case we have to do shit in this area, instead of having to go all the way back to the base, we'll just go to this little spot.
All right.
So the Black Widows were like, well, look at this. Duh! And they go, they're going to I don't know, fucking throw a rock through the window or some shit like that. And they're like, ugh, this place doesn't smell very good. Let's go in it.
Ha!
So in they go. And now the really fucked up part starts.
Well, it only took an hour and 7 minutes.
Yeah, well, you know what? You get what you get. The place was largely untouched. And even though they broke a window, the door was unlocked.
And
they went in. And it fucking reeked. And on one of the beds, that was bunk beds, there was a body. It was wrapped, including the head, in 8 separate, blankets and sheets. 8. On the table next to the bed, there was a necklace and a wallet and a gold watch and a ring. And the ring was engraved and it said Ted. So they had indeed found Ted Weir.
Wow.
His shoes were gone. His feet were horribly... Now, this isn't... The Black Widows are no longer... Now I'm just telling you what the cops found, because no one cares about the Black Widows now. They did their part. They found him. Now I'm telling you, actual fucking official shit. So his feet were badly frostbitten. They had started to become infected. 5 of his toes were gone. His pants had been rolled up to his knees.
What the fuck?
And he was wrapped.
Somebody took his shoes?
Okay, so I'm going to say here's the fucked up part, but I'm going to say it 19 times, and every single time it's true. Here's the fucked up part. He was a pretty big guy, except now he wasn't. Police estimated that he had lost between 80 and 100 pounds, and based on the length of the
What?
beard that had grown. They estimate that he had lived
Till when?
between 8 and 13 weeks. So clean shaven when he left to go to the game.
So they do dump him in this thing and like just leave him there? And he never thought to leave?
He died.
That's weird.
He starved to death and froze to death and had pulmonary edema because it's not like, so 5 of his toes were gone. They weren't just laying on the bed next to his foot like they had just fallen off while he was laying there.
Yeah.
So that's not great. So that, but at least now they have a place to look. By the way, this trailer was 20 miles from the car. 20 miles.
20 miles.
Uphill.
None of this makes
Like
any
further
fucking
up
sense.
into the mountains. Further up.
None of this makes any fucking sense.
4.5 miles away from the trailer, they found the bodies of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling. Madruga's car keys were in his pocket. He died of hypothermia and exposure. They don't know how Bill died because he was just bones.
What? Oh, so an animal had probably eaten him.
Now, Jack Hewitt, his father was like, I need to help you. I need to find my son. And the cops are like, you really don't do that.
Yeah, it's not going well for the rest of them.
Just don't come and help us. How are you going to, like, I mean, you're a father. You'd probably know better than me. I don't know what the fuck you think. Well, I'll find him better than you will. Why?
Yeah, I don't know what I would. I think it's just a matter of feeling like you're helping. Like
it's got to be.
You're doing
it's not like
something to help. Because
hey,
you're not actually in real life helping.
Like we found, what'd you find? Looks like a canoe. No, that's my son. See, I knew I should come. You idiots. My son's not a canoe. And the poor motherfucker says, well, that looks like his coat. By the way, at least 2 of the guys were told by their family members, wear a coat because it's going to snow. And they were like, yeah, fuck you. Not really, but like, I'm not doing it because I don't need to because we're coming right back. We're just going to the game because we got.
Yeah, we're just going to the game. We
have a game tomorrow. We can't be fucking around. We just have to drive many, many miles away from where we were supposed to go.
Right.
So the father's looking for his son. They found Ted on June 4th. They found Jack and Bill on June 6th. On June 8th, Jack Hewitt Sr. is actually kind of near the trailer. And yeah. And it was still snowy up there because it's way up in the mountains, even though it's June. And he sees a jacket. And he's like, well, that looks like Jack's jacket. So Jack goes to get Jack's jacket and he picks it up. And his son's spine falls out. And they found his skull a little ways away. No mention of the rest of his bones.
His parts.
Right. So, Jack Hewitt Sr., I'm sure regrets all of this. Now, the only thing I can hope is that when the spine fell out, he was like, well, that could be anyone's spine. Like that.
You don't know that's my son's spine.
Exactly. That could be a canoe. You don't know. So they found all of the guys except for Gary.
Right.
So now here's the fucked up part. We're going to go back to Ted.
Thanks for getting to the fucked up part because none of this other stuff's been fucked up.
We're going to go back to shoeless Ted wrapped up in the fucking trailer. Jack didn't have feet for the most part at this point. Inside the trailer. Remember, this was a forest ranger place.
Yeah.
There was like warm forest ranger clothes that Ted was not wearing. There were a bunch of paperback books and matches that could have been used to make a fire that were not used to make a fire.
Right.
There was a completely full butane tank attached to the
that
trailer
hadn't
that
been
would have
used.
heated it that was never touched.
Oh my God.
Now, they did find
What the fuck happened here?
in a storage shed nearby, because here's the fucked up part.
Thanks for that.
They found that they had gotten some things called sea rations, cans, like Forest Ranger, Army guy food.
Yeah.
And some of them were open and empty, which means that
Oh.
they had been eaten and there was no way it could have been Ted because Ted didn't have any feet. There's no way Ted was going to walk. I'm just going to take my horribly battered, toeless feet and walk over to this fucking shed. Nope. Now, here's a fucked up part. Here's a fucked up part. The only can opener they had was Army. It's called a P38 can opener, and it's like basically it looked like a little, because it's Army, so they're gonna make everything fucking small, and it probably also does something else. Like it's not like a cranky thing. It's just I don't know. Look up P38 can opener. It's just a little shit thing with a little groove and a blade. So you got to fucking know how to do it, basically. But it was Army.
Yeah.
So the only two people that would have had any fucking idea how to do it were Madruga, who was dead in the snow, and Gary, who they had not found. But there were only a few cans that were eaten. And remember, Ted lost 100 pounds.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Laying in that fucking bed with no feet. He didn't wrap himself up in 8 blankets.
That makes no fucking sense.
Because in the same shed, there was a locker. And in that locker, in the same shed, and a locker, even though it was called a locker, it was not locked.
Yeah. Okay.
It had enough dehydrated food to have fed all 5 of them for a year.
Oh my God.
And it was right next to where they got the can.
Right.
They found one other thing in the trailer. Found a pair of sneakers. And they belonged to Gary Mathias. And what they surmise...
So Gary took somebody else's shoes.
They swapped... It said that police thought that maybe Ted took Gary's sneakers, even though Gary's sneakers were too big for him. But Ted had been wearing big, like, clunky leather shoes, like street shoes. But that doesn't make any sense because if Gary's sneakers were too big for Ted, then Ted's shoes were going to be too small for Gary.
Way too small for Gary, yeah.
But the fact that his sneakers were there means that Gary was there. And the fact that Ted had a ring that was engraved with his own name. I mean, people did shit like that, like ID stuff back, it was the 70s. I just hate the fucking idea that, why you got your name on your ring? So if I lose it, I can remember it's mine, or so that I can look at it and remember that I'm Ted. Equal chance for either one. It's fucking terrible. And the gold watch that was on the table next to him belonged to none of them. None of them from any of the families had ever seen the watch before. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could have been there when they got there. But it's still
That's unlikely.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Fucked up thing.
Maybe they got a watch when they were getting their milk.
That could be too.
Yeah,
buy free milk, get a gold watch. We're
Get 2% and
we're an
a
incredibly
Casio.
unprofitable store. So now we're going to go into theories. There's one little fucking throwaway thing I'm going to say, because some people say that they found shell casings near the road in the mountains, but that doesn't mean anything to me, because I'm sure that there were a bunch of fucking wahoos running around there shooting guns.
Right. Gotta love the Wahoos.
There were a lot of comparisons to the Dyatlov Pass incident in Russia in the 50s. I think the second or third episode we ever did of Strangeful Things. You can go back and check it out. These people were experienced hikers, and they ended up all dead and all kinds of fucked up in weird ways. But this is a different case, because to this day, Gary Mathias has never been found.
So it doesn't make any sense. Why would Gary kill his friends?
Did Gary? I guess we'd say we have to. There's something about Gary, because Unsolved Mysteries decided they were going to cover the case because, of course, I'm Robert Stack. Find out about 5 boys going to the mountains, lose their feet. They contacted all the families. All of them said that they would agree because, get themselves some publicity. Maybe someone finds something.
Why not?
Not Gary's family.
He has something different.
They said no.
Oh.
They put the kibosh on it.
So they know Gary's alive.
And Ted's brother.
That's weird, huh?
Who caused all this by not knowing why Mickey Mantle could fucking hit the fucking baseball farther than his brother. He said it was suspicious. I'm not saying they knew, but, well, you can probably guess what I think. He thinks that the family didn't want them digging into it because they think that Gary was still alive, and that maybe Gary did have something to do with it.
So the family's hiding.
Because they were like, because remember, he found his way back home from 100 miles away after crawling through a fucking drain pipe. He also hitchhiked 540 miles from Oregon back to his house for basically, like, he went to live with his grandmother, and then he was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And he just went home. Like, he walked. It's weird. He's like Forrest fucking Gump.
They just went. Yeah.
And remember, he was prone to violent outbursts. Now, do I think that he fucking pulled, Jack Hewitt's spine out? No, I don't think that whatsoever. I don't think he killed them. But if you try to put the pieces of this together, none of it makes a fucking lick of sense.
None of it makes any sense.
Because even if they, let's just say, because I remember I got in a wicked fight after.
Just where do these other people fucking come from? So I got in a fight after a basketball game, but the fight was over after when the fight was over. Like, we didn't hop in our cars and drive 70 miles in a fucking high-speed chase. So that doesn't make any sense. We did that once, but it wasn't 70 miles. They got tired of chasing us after like 20 minutes.
That's.
I was fucking madman, yo. I was the driver.
Well, were you chasing someone, or were they chasing you?
Being chased.
Well, then you should have just turned around and rammed them.
My samurai.
Gary was the guy that was the boss of it. Because remember, he was the highest functioning one.
Yes.
So he'd be like, well, we should do this or we should do that. And also remember that he had other friends. He had outside interests other than the boys because he was higher functioning. I mean, he left his house and went and did shit and stayed out at night sometime, like not all night, but you know what I mean? Like he was on his meds.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you and this is the other piece that the stigma about mental health, well, you have this condition, so that must mean that you're X. Well, no, it doesn't mean it. You fucking cement head. Number one, having a mental illness is no different than having a broken arm.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it. And a little sidebar, don't tell somebody who's depressed to cheer up. Don't tell them to count their fucking blessings. Yeah. Because guess what? They could count them all fucking day. It doesn't have anything to do with it.
It doesn't make a fucking difference.
It's like having a broken arm. You can't go, you know what? I know your arm is broken, but how about you fucking high five me? Because you've got
Just
so
suck
much
it
to
up
be
and give me a high
thankful for.
five.
So why don't you just take your broken arm and fucking crank up this old timey car? You can't. Assholes. So same way. Okay, so yes, Gary was schizophrenic, but he was on his meds, which means that if you're going to define schizophrenic as a condition, yes, he was still schizophrenic. But if you're going to define schizophrenic as a set of symptoms that occur because you have schizophrenia, then no, at that point, he was not schizophrenic because he was on his meds.
Right.
But as we just...
And he had his meds
he did not
that
bring
night?
them with him. Because again, they would just go into the game and coming home. Because it wasn't like they were all going, oh, can't wait to come back into the game. And Gary was like, yeah, sure, we're going to come back and play the game. Like, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But we're dealing with a group of fellows who are not going to figure shit out super fast. The fact that in 1978, if you wanted to go somewhere, you actually had to know how to get there or be able to read a map.
Right.
They could have gotten lost.
Well, the fact that there were maps in the glove box, I think, is evidence that they didn't use maps.
True.
Because I was never able to fold.
They just came with the car. Oh, they've always been like that. That map is of the United States before the Louisiana Purchase. That's how old it is. I've never opened it. If I don't know where I am, I don't know where to look on the map. Maps are stupid. I better wait 50 years so that I can have GPS. But if he had said, no, we should go X, if Gary said we should go X or we should go Y, blah, 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 something like that. Whatever fucked up series of events got them to the car.
Right.
Here's, to me, is the trailer shit weird? Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
But if you wanted to paint a picture to say, all right, we left the car and we have no idea where the fuck we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're not fucking smart enough to just walk back down the road that they drove up. Because remember, they didn't have any common sense. Ted wanted to sleep in his burning house because he had work the next day. That's why I'm saying I'm not victim blaming. It's not their fault. But I can see where there would be a series of terrible decisions that got made.
Right.
So you could say, okay, well, they just fucking walked in a rando direction and some of them didn't make it all the way to the cabin and some of them did. And basically the only two that did, maybe Jack did because he was pretty close to the cabin where they found him. But Jack Hewitt, but Madruga and Sterling, they were 4.5 miles away. They might have just said, nah, I can't make it. Because who the fuck knows how long it takes to walk 20 miles in the mountains in the snow? Long. And so let's say that Gary and Ted and Jack maybe got to the trailer. Gary would have, if Gary could open the fucking cans, because we know Jack Madruga didn't, because he was the other Army guy, but he didn't get there.
Nope.
Unless he did get there and then they were like, oh, we're going to go get help. And then they died. But again, there was so much food at the trailer.
Yeah, they had a lot of food up there that they didn't partake in. If
Gary knew to open the cans that he opened, then something happened where he was just like, oh, I'm not going to open any more cans now, though. Herp, derp, derp.
And it wasn't that the can opener had broken or anything like that. It was still.
Well, I think he broke because he didn't have his meds.
Oh, yeah.
If you take 2 days to walk, I don't know how the fuck long. If you told me to walk 20 miles now, I'd be like, well, I will never see you again because I don't know how long it takes, but probably long. And they were going through the snow and they were going uphill and they didn't have coats. Well, so how long does that take? That's the other part I don't get.
One of them's toes are freezing
I don't
off.
think, unless you're walking around in a circle for a long time in the snow, even 20 miles, I don't think that's toe falling off time.
Well, 20 miles could be easily 10 hours. 2 miles an hour.
Oh, fuck, way longer than that.
But think about 10
Way
hours
longer than that.
in the snow with no shoes on.
But he
for
had the
whatever
good
reason.
shoes.
But obviously
the good
those
shoes.
didn't stay on because
So let's just
his
say
feet would not have frozen off if they had. Unless his feet froze off at some point
or they went to
over the next 3 months when the other guy was losing 100 pounds.
it's the same guy.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Or they had a red pickup truck and they went to fucking town to make phone calls and buy more milk.
Not even that town, a different town.
Right. Now, here's the part, and I'm not going to say here's the fucked up part, but here's the part that I'm going to leave everybody with. And honestly, maybe this should just be a 2-part show. Maybe you should just cut it in the middle, because here's a question I have for you. Not about the cabin, because by the time they got to the cabin, I would say that Gary was not in control of himself anymore.
Soon after. Yeah.
So I'd say by the time he got there, he was no longer medicated and he was subject to the symptoms of his condition. And it is very possible that whatever was going on in his head did not match up with what was going on in the cabin. And what he did felt like helping. And the other guys were already dead, or he couldn't find them. That could have happened from them at the trailer. Right?
That doesn't seem likely.
Here's what I don't get. Why'd they leave the car?
Yeah.
Why would 5 men forget about why the fuck they were where they were? Just leave that. Maybe they thought they were, I don't know, fucking. Maybe they thought they saw Bo Derek and they were following the car to try and I want to meet Bo Derek. Because it was 1978.
Seems likely.
I assume she was the prettiest woman in the world. Or maybe Farrah Fawcett. I don't know. But whatever. Forget about how they got there. When they got there, why did they go, you know what we should do? Not stay in the car.
Take a nice walk.
Fucking bumble through the woods to certain.
That's one of my midnight fog walks.
And they're not. Because something had to have happened to cause them to make the decision that they made. Madruga would not, all things being equal, have left the car in the condition that he left it in. They would not have left half of a delicious marathon bar.
Right.
Which not only could they have used to eat, but they could have used it as perhaps a rope or some other thing. Also, the wrapper had a ruler on it. So if they wanted to find out how long something was, they had that.
Yeah, that's a tool that they didn't think to keep with them.
Right. And the other piece that, and also that the car didn't break down. Madruga knew how to drive. It wasn't like, even if the car had stalled, he would have known. I mean, he obviously had mastered the fucking art of starting a car. Even if they were stuck, they wouldn't immediately jump to let's fucking wander off with the window down.
No, I don't think that's what you do first. Let's wander off and leave the window.
And he had the keys in his pocket. So it's not like he...
Well, maybe one of them had farted and he needed to air it out.
I mean, that's possible. And then he went, oh, and he swerved off the road. And they had to fucking evacuate the car.
Answers it all.
That actually, yeah, that does all fit together.
Solved. Another case solved by Strangeful Thing.
But the part that doesn't fit is Heart Attack Volkswagen Beetle Boy.
Yeah, like who are these fucking people? And one of them's carrying a baby.
Here's the part that gets me. It couldn't have been our guys. Our guys didn't have any fucking flashlights.
That's for sure.
Not to mention the fact that they also didn't have tits or a baby.
Also true.
Also solid points. So maybe
Who's the baby? I think the baby was the head of a gang, and those people were its followers.
So the Black Widows now had a baby as the head of them?
Run by a baby.
And instead of motorcycles, they had a red pickup truck.
Yes.
And they were like,
it all fits together, see?
get out of the car or I'll huck this baby at you. No!
Huck this baby at you.
Brandishing the baby, the woman came closer, and I was so scared I dropped my half a marathon bar, and we evacuated the scene. The whistling weirdos with their slidey whistle could not have been our guys, because the slide whistle would have come up. Like if they had sold slide whistles at the store where they bought the Langendorf, I would have bought one.
That's true. Like, who wouldn't pick up a slide whistle while they're picking up? I might
look on Amazon right now to see if I can get a slide whistle delivered by tomorrow on Prime.
And the Yuba 5 Memorial Slide
whistle. Contribute to the end of time. So the terrible things that happened to these guys on their way from the car to where they died. It's awful. It's fucking awful.
Yeah.
But what happened between the time when they left Bear's Market and abandoned the car is what matters.
Right.
Because everything in the trailer is weird. You know, had a bunch of warm clothes, didn't wear them. Had a bunch of this, didn't do it. If you picture, okay, Ted is not smart. If it was just him and Gary wasn't thinking right until it was like, why don't I put on that warm coat? Oh, you don't want that coat. It's filled with snakes because Gary thought it was filled with snakes. Or you can't eat this food because it's all whatever fucking thing might have been in his head, Ted would have believed.
Right.
So that part.
That could explain why they didn't eat.
Right.
But yeah.
And I don't think Gary was like, did any of this shit on purpose.
You just think that it was.
If you eat anything, your feet won't grow back. You gotta make sure you don't eat anything, and then
you just honestly didn't know the difference between reality and what was going on.
So Ted was just okay. Well, if you just want me to lay here wrapped up in these blankets and never eat anything, and I guess just piss myself every once in a while, except that he lived for 13 weeks, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say you can't live for 13 weeks without water.
Well, they had snow.
He didn't have any fucking snow. He didn't have any feet. He was in the bed. Who's bringing him the snow?
Without water, you die within a few days.
Right. Who's bringing him the snow? Had to have been Gary, which means that Gary had to have been there long enough.
Gary had to have been there, and Gary definitely took his shoes because they were better than sneakers.
I'm going to take his tiny shoes. That's not better.
Well, maybe but they were sneakers, so would shoes be better in snow? I don't know.
But not if they don't fit.
Yeah, they were small, right? Who knows? Maybe he lost some toes too.
Yeah, I'm gonna frostbite my way to a new pair of shoes. Yeah, that's right. That's the fucking smart man's game.
That's right.
Sleeves too
long. Save money, lose your toes.
Arm. Sleeve too short? Give it a chop.
Don't
I
get
think-
longer sleeves, get shorter arms.
Right. And that we can do. So I'm going to say straight up, flat out, unambiguously, that we need to find out what happened from the time they left the market filled with milk and happiness to when they left the car with no milk and no happiness. Now, Volkswagen heart attack guy did say that he was quote unquote delirious from pain. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing. When I had my kidney stone, it hurt so bad and I didn't know what it was. I tried to give myself an enema.
An enema?
Because I thought
For
that
a
would
kidney
fix it.
stone?
I didn't know what it was.
Oh.
I thought a Martian was inside me and I needed it to get out. It did not help.
Yeah, I would
But it
think
wasn't like
would
I
not.
was sitting in the bathroom trying to fucking figure out, how does anybody do this? I can't fit this thing in my ass. I don't even know where it's going. I think, and all of a sudden look up and go, is that Santa? Like, I'm not hallucinating. I'm not.
Is that Santa?
That's not happening.
Oh, maybe your pain wasn't hard enough. Wasn't
You know
bad
what?
enough.
You remember I told you about my ankle?
Yes.
Spun it all the way around, my foot backwards and upside down.
Yes.
If I was going to see Santa Claus, that would have been the day. I
That
thought.
probably would have been a time to see him.
But if I had to pick, although if I had to listen to my ankle again now,
Yeah.
when I am older and much, much more of a pussy, I would throw up until I died.
Oh, yeah.
Just because the fucking weird sound of, like, oh, that's not a part of your body. It's me tearing a rotisserie chicken in half, because that's kind of what it sounded like. I still think that the kidney stone was worse. And because the kidney stone was worse, and I didn't see Santa during the kidney stone, you've had a heart attack. You didn't see anything weird.
I did not hallucinate, no.
And I'm going to go out on a fucking limb that you didn't have the kind of heart attack that would then allow you to walk 8 miles through the snow.
No, I had trouble walking, 2 times around the floor, like 4 days after it.
So I'm going to say your heart attack was worse with 0 hallucinations.
Yes, I did have 0 hallucination.
So I don't buy the hallucination thing. Also, why would you make up that?
Why would you even say you were
weird-
hallucinating? Like, you said you saw the car and the car was there. So what are you talking about?
Also, why would you hallucinate a clown whistle? None of it makes sense. None of it. So I think that he did see whatever he saw. And I think that whoever they were did have something to do with the guys. But then that's weird too, because none of them had a baby.
Yeah, with this woman with the baby.
They didn't steal the car.
And there were no more details around whatever altercation may have happened at the basketball game.
What amount of stuff? Yeah, what amount of stuff would let's just say that it didn't. Let's just say that they weren't smart and they went the wrong way and they thought they were on their way home and they ended up at the foot of this mountain. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's say, because they found shell casings, supposedly near the head of the road that goes up the mountains, where they found a red pickup truck and somebody was throwing the baby up in the air and somebody else was shooting at it, trying to play skeet with the baby. And our guys were like, hey, don't. And they were like, what are you going to do about it? And they were like, nothing. And they started a chase. A really slow chase up the mountain.
It would have to be.
Because a low to the ground muscle car Mercury Montego filled with 5 men, candy, fruit pies, and milk versus a pickup truck, they were going to catch him sooner than later. even if that was not the case, even if it was some weird 6-mile-an-hour chase. Because
Like a
even though they
slow
were
chase.
playing skeet with the baby was in on it, and they let the baby drive. So the baby couldn't actually reach the gas pedal. All it could do was steer. So it was just going. Nobody was stepping on the gas. It was just go. Like cars will just
Like
go
that
a
coast
little bit.
you kind of do when you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And the baby was driving. That's why the chase took so long. And it really eased stuff up for Jack, because he was like, well, good, now I can protect the bottom of my car because I'm getting chased by a baby driving a pickup truck. So if they were so
That does
mad
seem likely, though.
that they drove up the mountain until they stopped, why would the people in the truck's resolution be, I'm not going to fucking rest until all of you leave and bring your keys with you. I'm just going to scare you away from your own car
And
do
then not
nothing
do
else
anything to it.
except for blow my clown whistle and apparently have a bunch of other people with me because Volkswagen guy saw more people. Hang around with the baby in the snow, scare this heart attack fucker, never help him, and then make sure that you guys don't go back to your own car, which we're not going to steal because we forgot to tell you to leave the keys. So you really fucking swindled us, Jack Madruga. How does that make sense?
But you left that window open, so
Right.
Yeah, none of this makes any sense. I cannot think of one like plausible scenario in this whole thing. It's just nonsense. Like none of it fits.
It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit, and it's more... The Dyatlov Pass case was, why did this guy not have any clothes on? Why did he run out? Why was the tent cut from the inside and they ran out into the snow? Why was this guy's jaw no longer attached to his body? There were a bunch of weird things that happened with that. But nobody... It was not like in the Dyatlov Pass case, these were 6 people that were ready to head to Tahiti, and they had... and then suddenly they found themselves on the top of a fucking mountain in Russia. That was not it. They went to the mountain on purpose. Our guys were supposed to go home. They had a fucking game the next day.
Yeah, these guys were just going to a basketball game. They weren't heading up to the mountains for the week.
Right. And Gary, even if you want to say, could you make a case for Gary being to some degree responsible? Responsible in the sense that he may have caused these things to occur as a result of his condition? Sure, I'd buy that.
Well, I'm thinking his family at least thinks that, whether they're involved and he's alive or something, or he was alive and they have a sense of it. That's definitely what they're thinking.
I think even if that were the case, and he did cause it because he did not, he wanted to go to the game too. He wanted to play in the game.
Right.
He was not some fucking big mastermind that was like, well, you know what? I'm sick of my dumb friends that I keep hanging around with, and I am going to get traded to a different team because fuck the Gateway Gators, that's just us 5. Because I am smarter than all of you, even though I can't drive. I'm forging out on my own, and my big plan is to go to a fucking, completely Rube Goldberg plan and then disappear.
Yeah. Vanish.
None of it. None of it. I am completely fucking baffled to the point where, if I could, and I can, I want to make a channel in the Discord just for this case.
So do it.
Because I want to know what everybody thinks. I mean, I don't have any more facts.
I just cannot think of a single scenario that makes any fucking sense. It's almost like a bad like 70s TV movie. Like these 5 special needs guys or 4 special needs guys and this other guy go to a game, and then they bump into somebody, and some trouble starts, and they don't want any trouble. They're just trying to get home, and they get lost, and the people follow them or something. Like it's just like a weird, like the Scarecrow movie. It's like a weird 70s.
Yeah. Now, some people, I call them idiots, but some people think that the 2017 Netflix movie, The Ritual, which is not a bad horror movie, was actually about the Yuba County Five. No fucking way. No fucking way, because spoilers for The Ritual, if you don't want to hear for all intents and purposes, the show is over. So go to allmylinks.com/strangefulthings. See, I'm going to do it, because then we can talk about spoilers for The Ritual. Go there and then come to the Discord and solve the fucking case, because I can't solve it. But anyway, in The Ritual, these guys went for, they went to the woods on purpose, first of all. But then they got mixed up with what was essentially a cult, and they all ended up getting killed by the cult. I mean, I may have a couple cults going right now as we speak. At least one. And my rituals don't have anything to do with, like, who has a ritual that involves starving someone to death that takes 8 weeks? Who's got that kind of time?
Starving somebody over 2 or 3 months.
Now, I'm not saying that anybody came out and said, I think that the Yuba County Five were killed by a cult. I'm calling out the fucking people that said that the ritual had anything to do with this case. Fucking dum-dums.
Yeah, that'll teach you.
That might as well be, Star Wars was about the 60s space program. Why? Space. We don't have enough facts about what happened from the time they left Bears to when they got out of the car.
Have there been any movies or anything made about this? Besides The Ritual?
God, son of a bitch. That's how I found out. That's how I found out, because that when they said, oh yeah, stuff that's actually based on real cases, that was the example. I'm like, what the fuck? Because I had happened to see the movie. So, like, that's not right. So, I mean, when you get down to it, there's a book. There's the police accounts at the time. There's not a hell of a lot else. But I think we need to solve it or make up. If we make up every possible reason that they ended up where they ended up and abandoned the car, technically,
I'd be impressed if we could come up with one scenario that makes any fucking sense.
Well, I mean, I gave you...
just them getting to the cabin makes no sense.
I gave you Skeet
They
Baby.
found a random cabin 20 miles from where their fucking car broke down.
Right, because they were
These
running
weren't
from...
fucking mountain men. And one of them had lost his toes.
On the way.
At least one of them.
On the way.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Okay, so I got one other possibility. I know I said that there was a baby, but I just looked up Skeet Ulrich from Scream, who we kind of hung out with at one of the horror cons, and he was trying to fuck. Oh my God. But you know who really was? Micah from Paranormal Activity. That guy just kept fucking every fucking woman that was still awake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, till he finally hit. But anyways, Skeet Ulrich was born in 1970. That would have made him 8. Maybe he was just a tiny guy, and he was the baby.
Makes sense to me.
Because it does say that he was born in Lynchville, Virginia, which is in the same country as California. So
practically next door.
His real name is Brian Ray Trout.
Wow.
So there's like, I want everybody, I mean, of course we want people
If
to enjoy
anybody
the show and listen to the show.
string together all these facts to make something that makes any friggin' sense.
Right. And participate,
Join us in the Discord.
Join us. But
In
in
the
this
salon.
instance, I kind of want to have some kind of fucking true crime podcast summit about
So do like a follow-up or something.
what the fuck. Just, again, if we think of every reason in the world, we have to be right.
There you go. That's some solid reasoning there.
As we said, allmylinks.com.
And we have now hit 2 hours for the first time.
We're doing it. No, it's going to be 2 pods. We're going to split it. Split it. allmylinks.com/strangefulthings. I'm out of energy. I don't know what to do, man. What should we do?
What? What'd you say?
I'm tired.
I'm tired too.
I'm tired of trying to figure this out.
I'm so tired I can barely keep on flapping.
Bye-bye.